The body of a 7-year-old little boy found in his own bed, beaten and choked to death, was his mother's claim she's dying of cancer. I was good to him. I loved him so much. I didn't want him raised by anybody else. A motive for murder? For the latest, let's go out to Brett Larson. He is the afternoon anchor with FM News 101.9. Brett, what happened?
It's just such a tragic story. The mother, 40-year-old Tanika Revell, beats her little son, 7-year-old Bernard, known to some neighbors as Little B, said to be just a great kid. She beats him, but she didn't just beat him to death. She actually tried to electrocute him. She put him in the tub, filled it with small appliances, tried to electrocute him. When that wasn't successful, she hit him over the head with a hammer, then strangled him with a belt, put a plastic bag over his head, and then that was what ultimately led to his death. Just such a tragic story. Even Tanika's boyfriend says he feels like his son was taken away from him. And he wasn't even the father, but he's been such a part of this child's life for so many years. He feels like his own son was just stolen from him in such a tragic way.
Look at that little boy, that precious little boy. Alexis Weed, Nancy Grace producer, this weekend, you were out in the neighborhood going door to door to find out what's the truth here, what really happened. Does she really have cancer? But here's what I want to ask you. We need to establish the timeline. Let's start in the morning, because she talks to her boyfriend on that day, right? And she says, you know, it's hot outside. We're not going to go outside. We're just going to stay indoors all day. Take it from there.
Right, Jean. So she says she wants to stay indoors, and she says this to her longtime boyfriend of 7 years, Terrence Johnson. She says, you know, I'm going to keep Bernard in. It's very hot outside. Though, Jean, her attorney tells me that she had visited at some point during this day when Bernard was killed, that she had visited a church trying to seek some sort of sanctuary for Bernard, knowing that she needed someone to take care of him, saying that her attorney her family had turned her away, saying that they couldn't take care of Bernard. The attorney says she then leaves this church. The attorney believes that she visited the church along with Bernard, and the attorney claims that the church said, well, come back on Sunday and pray with us, but for the most part just turns her away. Then, Jean, later on in the day, the boyfriend, he tries to reach Revell again. He says she doesn't pick up the phone. She later calls him back, and this is now at 8:15 in the evening. He says that she sounds like she's breathing heavy, and when he asks to speak with Bernard, to have a chat with him, Revell reportedly tells him, well, he's sleeping, and the boyfriend thought this was very odd because he was not a boy to be sleeping at 8:15 in the evening. The boyfriend then didn't know anything was wrong, Jean, until he learned of Bernard's death the following morning. But
so
when we take a look at
Alexis, here's what I think the critical point is. At 7:30, she calls her mother, and she tells her what she did. But at 8:15, 45 minutes later, the boyfriend calls. He's sleeping. Can't disturb him. He's sleeping right now. I want to go to Victoria Taft, talk show host from KPAM Radio, 860 AM. Here's what I want to know. When she threw the electrical appliances into the bathtub to allegedly try to electrocute him, were they plugged in?
Well, I have to believe they were, else why would she try to do that? But what saved that little boy at that moment in time before she did the final deed, I imagine, was a ground fault interrupter. It's too bad we can't have ground fault interrupters for stupid acts by desperate people, Jean.